I want to show you guys the work of all the volunteers that brought together this latest convoy. Truck after truck after truck. Bringing them all to Kyiv tomorrow morning. It's like a 30-something hour drive, plus several months of preparation. We're getting it done. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
These rugged trucks are a long way from Central Florida, winding the roads of Eastern Europe to get to a war zone. In that convoy, Peter Duke of Orlando.
There were some air raid sirens earlier. We heard some distant booms. The AA intercepted some missiles that were coming in.
I talked to Duke from Kyiv. He's a Central Florida home builder, and you might know him from the A&E show Zombie House Flipping. Right now, though, he is part of a group bringing these trucks and supplies, including generators, medical supplies, and sleeping bags, to the people in Kyiv. The trucks they're giving to Ukraine's military for their fight against the Russian invasion.
And I believe what's happening here in Ukraine is worth the support of the free world.
The convoy is organized by a group called Help 99, founded by an Estonian entrepreneur. It's sending vehicles and goods from Estonia. Duke helped raise money and materials for it before heading to Ukraine. He says while the brutal combat may seem remote, we're all linked.
It's revealing that as humans, we are all connected, and we just want to live a free life. My name is Peter Duke, and I live in Orlando, Florida with my family. When I'd first heard about the convoy, it was from a friend of mine whose buddy was going to go, and I heard about it and instantly said, I'm doing that. I didn't know any details, but it seemed like one of those things that comes along a few times in your life where you just have to take action. It felt like something of importance, and I believe that's what we were all looking for. We're looking for something bigger than ourselves to participate in, a purpose to believe in. And so for that purpose, I went to Ukraine in February of 2023. Really gonna focus on driving here, but just one quick video to see us off. Stan, the journey's begun.
On our way.
Yep, 0600, Thailand.
30 hours.
Yep, to Kyiv. Here we go. So here's the truck we're driving over. It's a Mitsubishi 200 pickup truck. It's been outfitted with, of course, the Ukrainian and American flags. We are the only Americans ever to come and drive a truck in the convoy. It's officially cold as fuck where we're at here. We stopped at a Circle K to fuel up. Another few members joined us, so we now got 10 of the trucks, and we're locked and loaded. So this is the Ukrainian border crossing here. So the Mitsu has got another problem again. It's got some issue with like fuel delivery, and Kyiv is like 6 hours that way or something. Here we are in the center of the apartment complex, and that's what's left of the playground. So we're here at Hostomel Airport outside of Kyiv, and this is where one of the decisive early battles of the war was fought. All around me is the wreckage of hundreds of Russian fighting vehicles. There's tanks, armored personnel carriers, and pieces of them here. We're standing in the middle of what used to be an apartment block outside of Borodyanka, and the Russians attacked this. This building got cut in two with an aerial bomb that was dropped. So we made it. We're here in Kyiv. We're at the place where all the trucks have made it. So tomorrow we'll hand them off to the new owners.
Warm hello from Ukraine for you. Thank you for your support. Only together we can win. Slava Ukraine.
Yes. I knew right when we handed those trucks over to the soldiers that I'd be returning for another convoy. There's the cockpit right there. Jump in and see if you fit. Just hold it there. I want to see.
In the position it's in.
I heard the fuel pump running. That's what I was checking on.
Okay.
So we're good. You can back it off to stop.
Okay. Here, I can actually reach in.
Oh, yeah. We'll get this done together. Keith, Ori, and I go way back, so it didn't take much to convince him to come with me on the convoy, especially him seeing how inspired I had been after my first visit there. Hey, you know what else? Like, as troubled as I am about this little project right here, did I tell you about the mechanic that helped us in Ukraine?
Oh, yeah.
So incredibly, a local mechanic walked up and he had a code reader and he thinks he knows what's going on here, so he's wrenching on the truck. He went back and like machined this block-off plate, came back, installed it on the roadside. This guy I did it. This guy fixed it, dude.
I've never seen such a capable group of people.
Yeah.
On the U.S., like probably the best you could hope for would be someone that would offer you a tow or something like that.
Mr. Miller, hello.
Hey, Stan.
Hey, things are starting to heat up for the trip in November. I don't know if you've been following everything as far as all the conversations that are going back and forth on WhatsApp. You know Dimitri is a dynamo. He's been doing a lot of organization and planning to get stuff ready. He's like completely laid out a bunch of resources on the Ukraine side with people we can get access to. Like we found during our trip, there's a lot of heroes out there with stories to be told. And he is like the ultimate fixer of sorts. So for the trucks, you know, we've committed a truck, and in addition to trying to like raise some money for some more trucks for this or subsequent convoys, we're also brainstorming on ways to like get some of the stuff that could go in the trucks.
It was medical supplies. It was also a good inventory of really durable American-made Goodyear tires. They need to be able to use these vehicles at night. They use these vehicles at times to evacuate people, you know, if they're shot. Just the ability to operate near the front lines, apparently a huge advantage for all the various reasons that would be the case.
Yeah.
In this area, the roads are completely destroyed. Like there is no such thing as a decent road. Driving people to this place and out of this place is incredibly challenging. It's just mud field, and that's it. There are no roads, basically. So having a good vehicle to be able to transport them is mission critical for their survival.
Україна. Женьок, нормальово?
Да, заебись.
Нормальово, мужики? Женька, що тут у тебе? Поцарапав, скажеш? То все, хуйня, Женьок. Зараз 3 тижні і ти обратно на Одіссей. Все, в принципі, нормально, Женька, да? Отлично. Красавчик, Женька.
Actually, pretty often I hear soldiers say things as, if it wasn't for the volunteers, we wouldn't be alive already. Or if it wasn't for volunteer help, Russia would have taken Ukraine by now. And when you hear things like this, it warms up your heart so much and just keeps you going and it keeps you helping.
Ми, бійці розвідувального батальйону 5-ї окремої штурмової бригади, просимо допомоги у фонду НАФО та 69-ї снайпінг-бригади.
The Ukrainian citizen soldiers realized early on that volunteers across the internet were often their staunchest allies. So they make videos to share. They realized that these video appeals became a lifeline, providing aid and supplies in a time when their own Ministry of Defense couldn't get it to them quick enough. This became the first war fought live on social media.
Stan, who would we talk to? Would that be Ragnar that we would communicate with to find out what the need is?
Yeah, you know, of course, Ragnar's the real hero of the story. This was his project. I think he's done 19 or 20 of these convoys since the war started. You know, these guys ran this convoy, you know, like a military operation. You know?
You're looking like you guys can marshal the funds to get another one?
Hopefully I want to get more than one truck, but...
Man, Ragnar's going to be so stoked that we're able to bring 2. I mean, anything above and beyond that would be great, but we're definitely setting our sights high.
Think about this. Think of how hectic this is just on our end to coordinate our little bit of the effort. Now think about the people in Estonia. Ragnar and his team are doing this, but they're coordinating, you know, nearly 15 trucks this mission, plus getting the trucks repaired, and then they do this every month.
Yeah.
And he's got a regular full-time job. It boggles the mind how much preparation, how much coordination it takes on and on to keep sending this flow of aid. Like, I feel humbled, you know?
Dimitri, let me ask you, man. You're a young man. I don't even know how, what are you, late 20s, early 30s?
Yeah, I'm 34.
As Americans, we haven't had a war on our soil, you know, for a very, very, very long time. And to have it on your own soil, like what that means and how it affects the population, how it affects the people that are there and participating firsthand.
I put all the negativity to the creativity. My angry or my sadness or my, fear is just like, go and set up new campaign to raise the trucks. That's my cure, you know. The more I work, the more trucks will be brought, the more ammunition will be supplied. I cannot, like, you know, go and change something on the front line. I'm not military one, so yeah, do my part.
Що? Мене звуть Фаворський. Я служу в 67-й ОМБР ДУК. Це назва нашої бригади. Моя посада – оператор дронів. Ще якби поза штатом. Я взагалі режисер був. Сподіваюся, що досі є в цивільному житті. От.
Favorsky and countless other citizens-turned-soldiers like him are the main reason why the Russians haven't just run over Ukraine. Collectively, they left their jobs as teachers, dentists, farmers, and artists, and joined the military to defend their nation and their fellow countrymen.
Росія показує те, з чого вона складається, і треба розуміти, що це зло буде розростатися, воно, якби не збирається зупинятися. Україна зараз приймає на себе удар, і приймає на себе удар за велику частину світу. Тобто, якщо впаде Україна, то хто буде наступним? Захід не має дозволити цьому трапитися по загально по свободі світу. Отак.
I saw some of the pictures and videos that you posted, and it looked almost startlingly first world.
Yeah, I mean, parts of the place are really, really nice. It's just, people have this impression in their head of maybe what it's going to be like, or what the people are going to be like. I mean, you got to get a load of these Ukrainian gas stations. I thought the ones in Latvia and Lithuania were nice. They are way better than what we have back in the States.
Look at the perfectly fronted merchandise.
Not bad.
Yes.
Very swankified hotel. Psst, it's only 59 euros a night. Imagine if Middle America got invaded by some country next door. They came
Red
in.
Dawn.
Yeah, the movie Red Dawn back in the 80s. Like, you know, those people would fight for their place. Like, they would never retreat or back down. They would grab whatever they could get and resist the invaders. And that's basically what's happening there.
Speaking with Keith, I was reminded of my first trip here when I visited Irpin, a small town just north of Kyiv.
25-го вранці, десь в 6:33 підірвали міст наш.
Ми сестру зустрінемо.
На сьогоднішній день йдуть постійно обстріли. Йдуть обстріли з градів, йдуть обстріли з мінометів, йдуть обстріли з артилерії. І, звичайно, це небезпечно. Дуже багато загибло від їхніх мін, від їхніх артобстрілів, і дуже багато рашисти розстріляли.
Ну і одразу президент сказав, що виходьте на вулиці, у кого є зброя, все. Ну так як в мене є своя зброя, снайперська, все, ми вийшли сюди і почали вже патрулювати.
In late February 2022, as the storm of war closed in on the town, the military desperately tried to stall the Russian advance on the capital by blowing up a key bridge. For the civilians, this was the only way out. From young children to the very elderly, everyone who was able to struggled to evacuate. With the sound of artillery closing in, they pressed forward, carrying everything they had, or carrying nothing, or being carried themselves.
Завдяки допомоги Америки і Англії, тими самими лавами, джевелінами, ви не можете собі представити, скільки оця ваше сучасне озброєння врятувало дітей і людей наших.
So this was the cultural center, but Russia completely destroyed this building because it was the line of defense from the Russian troops from Bucha.
Да, бо росіяни, коли почали захватувати Київщину, основний супротив вони отримали саме в Ірпіні.
They write down to mayor personally, give us the city, and the mayor said, "This Irpin was not bought, we are defending." Alexander made this public. He wrote down on the Facebook, and everyone know about this. I said, no, of course no.
Wait, let me clarify. They offered you money.
Да,
If you surrender the city.
Yes.
запропонували
Okay, bribe you to turn over the city.
Yes.
We spent the next few months together working to raise donations and funds for trucks. And we cooperated with international volunteers, nonprofits, and Ukrainian citizen soldiers.
I would say we'll just go to the outlet and buy 4 cheap large bags.
All right, so we'll go here to really shelter solutions, right? Because we're talking about guys on the front lines. This is essential for living out in the field.
Hi, Keith.
Hey, Jana. Hey, so I just wrote in, but I thought I'd call actually because it's Duke and I are here.
Jana.
Hi, Duke.
Hi there. Hey, so we're talking about what other items we might have coming our way, and I know we had talked previously about for a drone, probably.
Hello.
Hi.
So it wasn't my job to do this, just like it's not your job to do what you're doing. But it's regular people just trying to find a way to help and not taking no for an answer, but finding the mechanism to support the effort, because it certainly is a worthy effort. And I think the eyes of the world are watching what you're doing and recognizing that it makes a difference.
Работаем. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here it is, typical Ukrainian FPV drone with details from made in China. Sure, props, huge battery, antenna, typical drone with a camera here. We use these drones when Russians start to offensive our positions. Guys from the position use these drones to kill Russian squads. This is a very fast and effective weapon now here on the front line here.
With just a week before our departure, donation efforts were hitting their stride. On a recent call, we spoke with Steven from Ukraine Frontline, an organization that's been working hard to sponsor soldiers since the start of the war.
So yeah, I've been talking to the team about it, just kind of going through the various convoys and what you guys have been able to provide. And we've actually got a unit, and I was looking it up just to make sure I had this right. It's Recruit Team 1st Squadron of the International Legion. And they are in need of a 4x4 that's up to the caliber that you guys have been working with actually coming out of Estonia. So it'd be great to see kind of how we get involved with that, go ahead and find some sponsors and basically do this from the ground up like you've been doing. We've found that just by partnering together, people go, oh, wow, like the fight's still going. And it's actually helping with the resurgence in donations, because war fatigue is definitely set in, not just with the soldiers and civilians, but also with our donors. Oh, I still need to give money to that thing? I didn't know that there was a problem. And it's not like the average person is going out of their way to look for problems in the world.
I was both surprised and elated to have Steven commit to driving on our convoy. Yet another volunteer who has become personally inspired to get more directly involved in our effort. Keith, you in there?
Hey, buddy.
Hey. Hey, what's up, man? How you going?
So the aid we have, we got the Molly packs, the trauma kits. And
so far packed up at the house, we've got those 50 trauma kits and also the roll-up stretchers. And then we're still waiting on Stop to Bleed to send the rest of the medical kits. And maybe those can go to Eric on the West Coast because they're closer. And he can just pack those up and bring them in his checked luggage.
Sure.
Hi, buddy. I'm just getting so packed up here.
For what?
For the Ukraine trip. There's not going to be any bombers, and I told you it's going to be safe, okay? We'll be extra careful. You think I'll need this big, heavy jacket?
Yeah.
Yeah? It's going to be extra cold? Piece of orange from you, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks.
After months of planning and donation raising, Keith and I finally headed off to Estonia.
where after a good night's rest, we met up with Ragnar and the team at Help 99.
The name came from the fact that exactly that how to lift up people. That's
Right.
lift. And originally it had 99 places of seats. So we had like community of 99 people. And the idea is exactly that everyone should help everyone to basically achieve better whatever goals or go to the world, build a startup and so on. So here is the name came from.
That's cool.
Lift to 99.
Yes, and the best thing is that we do have lift inside of the building, but it's not working.
Exactly. Let's go again.
So we've got about $60,000-$70,000 worth of drones there. We've got two different types. This one is just the Mavic 3 Pro. This one's the Mavic 3 Thermal. Pro, you can only really use in the daylight. A thermal, you can use at night. You can use at any point, and you can use it to find anyone. Well, some of the equipment is Western manufacturers, so they've donated it to get it tested in the combat zone. So there isn't really any defense company that doesn't want its kit in Ukraine right now, because it's a great proving ground for whether or not it works or not. I think the challenge that you have with autonomous weapons is that in Ukraine, in the Russian war, they're just getting used. Whereas in the West, we were debating about the ethics of having autonomously firing weapons. In the war zone, they're just doing it. And that creates quite a dangerous risk to our future, I would say.
Cat's out of the bag.
You can't really stop it being in the bag because you're then telling people not to try and defend their country, and it's quite hard to get them to not do anything possible to defeat the enemy.
I think that also think about like there is a Cuba
Yes.
next to the US, and if exactly there would be now Russia, hey,
right,
let's just put like some of the like missiles and stuff immediately to Cuba, and
Wow.
you guys don't react, and this missile can be new as how many minutes?
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know.
And that got our attention.
That was the biggest crisis of the 20th century to that point.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Oh my God, what do? We put our foot down. They said, get them out or there's going to be a huge problem. And Khrushchev believed him. And they pulled back, because that's how you have to treat the Russians. You meet force with force.
Yes, because the problem is you need to react before you let this happen.
I think Americans now have gotten very complacent, and I don't think they realize how our place in the world will be affected if Russia is allowed to dictate the terms to Ukraine and then to the Baltic states and then wherever else they choose to go.
History is made every second.
Yes.
And there is two choices. We are helping to make the history, or we are watching this enveloping and one moment basically waking up in the world which we would never ever want to be part of.
Talking with Ragnar really drove home the point how the people in those countries that share a border with Russia have a long history dealing with aggression. Later on, Help 99's director Irina took Keith and I into Old Tallinn and showed us firsthand just what Ragnar meant.
Estonia was like unusual Soviet country all the time. The most west one, I guess. I remember my mom was living in Ukraine and she went to the touristic center and she asked where I can travel and what I can see. And in this touristic center, they told her that if you want to travel without going out of the Soviet Union, you should go to Tallinn. Victims of communism terror.
Victims of communist terror?
We can see the year.
Stay up, people. Summer is soon.
Today's task is to pack several letters. Open these packages. You take one envelope, you put a stamp on it, you put Liv 99 address to the left corner, and one letter includes handwritten postcard. So we add the donator's name here, we add the donator's address, and I tell you what patches go inside, because different donators, they have different number of patches, and those who donated 750 euros and more, they get an original military patch as well. So they are from the soldiers. Part of my family, they are originally from Ukraine, so for me it's like very important personally. And I lived in Russia for more than 12 years, and I don't agree with what the things happening there, so I want to change it. I cannot accept that. So for me it's very important personally.
As it stands right now, Europe is like completely reliant on US leadership and security in Europe, and if that goes away, that scares me. But if the US keeps its support, that's what we really need.
The following morning, we were off to meet with an Estonian entrepreneur named Annalisa. Her company is repurposing wool waste into compact bedding for soldiers on the front line.
Hi, Annalisa.
Annalisa, I'm Peter.
Annalisa, nice to meet you.
You too.
So what we actually do in this factory, we're making sustainable packaging. We started using wool in packaging like about 2 years ago, because I used to have an online store myself where I saw like the plastic packaging problem, and we started looking for like new materials, and it was very difficult. And then I read an article that said that 90% of sheep wool goes to waste in Estonia.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like very low quality, the type of wool that we have in Europe, so you can't use it in like textile.
You discovered that all this wool material went to waste, so you started a company to use that to make packaging. That was how you started the company?
Yeah. So this is all like voluntary work from like the office workers at WULA. So it was very hard to like stay motivated for like the first weeks that the war started, or like to find like the purpose. But then we realized that we actually have resources. Like we're a pretty decent like production company, and we have a voice. And so we started thinking of ways like how to help Ukraine. And I saw this picture of a Ukrainian soldier who was sleeping in the trenches in the mud. And we got this idea of like, why not use our production waste for making these mattresses, because wool is like the perfect material for it. It makes us feel better, like it gave us our purpose back. It would make at least like one tiny thing in the soldiers' lives easier. So we first did this last December. We shipped about 400 mattresses, and with this convoy we're shipping 100, and then we're shipping another 300 in the next convoy. And tomorrow I'm also going to be one of the drivers, so I'm joining the convoy for the first time, so really looking forward to actually like delivering the mattresses myself.
So which all ones are we taking? Those stacks there?
Yeah, those stacks, and then there's another 2 pallets here, so you can just like bring the trucks there, like reverse there, and then we'll just load it on there.
Is that it? Yeah, that's it.
It was inspiring to see Annalisa's invention to provide some comfort to those troops on the front line. But now we needed to pick up something a little bit more tactical. So we grabbed a vehicle with American YouTuber and veteran Andrew Mercado, who knew a little bit about that.
What brought you out into this?
What, into the convoy?
Yeah, what got you into the convoy?
I saw, I think it was the 18th convoy, the 17th convoy, back in March of this year. Maybe it was either February or March. And I just wanted a way to help Ukraine that we'd see our donations, like the return on investment was there. For not only myself, but for my YouTube channel, my viewers that donate. I've been covering the war with my YouTube channel since the first day of the full-scale invasion. Through videos, live streams, CCTV cameras inside of Ukraine, I had seen what Russia was doing and the atrocities they were committing, so I wanted to help for this convoy. Been in tons of them, led them in the Middle East and beyond, so I felt like I was really, I had the tool set for this, to do this.
Russian tanks that cost millions are being taken out by consumer-grade drones, like this one that cost a few $100s. Since the Ukrainian counteroffensive began, military analysts say there's been a dramatic increase in Ukraine's use of FPV, or first-person view drones, with most Ukrainian battalions using these drones to execute precision attacks on Russian vehicles and troop positions. The aim is twofold: to make the military less dependent on weapons from Western countries, and to maintain an innovative edge over the more numerous Russian forces.
So we have a big headache with imports from China.
So do you change the software so
no, for us, what we have to do, we just open the box, connect the drone to the phone. DJI sees the first activation here in Europe, and then we deactivate it. That's it, it's a brand new drone. Just we have to show that the first activation here. What happens next? We don't know. We don't know. Ukraine never heard.
All the software, all your video footage goes up onto Chinese servers, and the Chinese government has everything.
They see everything. Practically, if you don't install new software, they can remotely deactivate the drone.
Yeah. And they can also track it back.
They can track it back. That's why military guys, they use VPN.
Yeah.
The most disgusting, they can track operator. This is most dangerous. Because if they see operator, in 5 minutes, something arrives.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, brother. Yeah. Bye. Bye, guys. See you next time.
We just picked up a couple recon drones, like 6 recon drones, a little more than a couple, but we got regular ones, and then they also have thermal drones. I believe they said the 2 thermals and 4 regular recons. So these are used to monitor Russian fighting positions, Russian patrols, their convoy movements. They're also used to call in artillery, mortars. Basically, like they're the new forward observers. Like from what we just picked up to the vehicle we're in now, these are all very essential items that Ukraine desperately needs. I know it's one thing that ask the governments for big missiles or things, that us regular folk can't really do anything about. But things like a 4x4 civilian truck or those drones, they're crucial. Ukraine needs them bad.
My friends, yesterday in the Ukrainian town of Poltava, a Russian missile hit a university and a hospital. By now there is information about 47 Ukrainian civilian casualties dead, and 207 are injured, with the majority of them being under the rubble. Nice to see you again, man. Come on in. Right.
Hey, I'm Keith. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you again, man.
Yeah.
I remember February.
That's right.
We are in my makeshift studio because for 10 years as a YouTuber, I've been working from home.
How many followers do you have on YouTube now?
670,000.
Really?
The February convoy was my first fundraiser at all, ever. And now 5 fundraisers later is $300,000 my fans have donated. And usually it's cars, but it was night visions, thermal visions. Now it's, I don't know if you're gonna put it in, but it's kamikaze drones, this convoy. My friends, I'm here with the legendary Baba Yaga, the boogeyman from John Wick. This is it. This is what the Russians are most afraid of. The frightening destroyer Baba Yaga. We're gonna make a fundraiser. If you don't buy these beautiful outdoors so great, let's do it for victory.
Looking at what you do and the toll I know that I would take on me, that would be incredibly challenging.
I mean, right now we would drive towards the east, and in 2 hours we'd be on the Russian border. So living here is kinda, you don't have a choice, because if Ukraine falls, Estonia is in 2 hours. T-72s are entirely.
Yeah.
For us, it's different reality.
Wow, it's a tough reality to face, but someone's got to tell the story of what's happening. So thanks for having a voice.
Thank you for coming to Ukraine again.
Що до війни я вилітав з України 15-20 разів на рік. Сидиш, їдеш в Бориспіль через 2 години десь в Європі, 3-4 години. І це це швидко, ти якось полетів чисто на вікенд, десь куди собі. Класно. Зараз я думаю, що літаки у небі це буде це буде означати, що війна закінчилася. Я думаю, що знаєш, така людська особливість, що ми дуже швидко падаємо на ноги. І так само звикаємо до чогось класного, що воно має бути. І десь ми в усьому цьому, десь ми реально забуваємо, що, наприклад, на війні, коли ти розумієш, що там ти от сьогодні спілкуєшся з людиною, а завтра читаєш там десь, що вона померла, і ти такий, як? Я, к примеру, я уже не говорю слов у кого-то, кто-то погиб, я не говорю слов «я соболезную», потому что я не соболезную. У нас военных эмпатия почти не работает.
I found it hard to watch the young people and citizens turn soldiers like him, knowing that every departure back to the front is one that may erase that future before it even starts. Can you imagine going back and forth between the life you were living and one of military service you're forced into just to save that life?
So we're currently at the stabilization point, one of the rooms where heavily wounded soldiers are brought, evacuated straight from the battlefield. Usually these rooms are equipped with everything which is necessary to resuscitate and give surgery and stabilize the wounded soldier. And usually guys who get here, they're heavily wounded, they have been waiting for a long time in the trenches to be evacuated. They lost a lot of blood, and it's especially critical to have the possibility to move them here as soon as possible.
The day before we left, Ragnar called all the drivers together for our final meeting before departure.
So the first group, I might do some changes. I will later talk with Dimitri, but point is we have two groups. The second car is Peter and Kate. Exactly, you will drive Helix. The best thing ever, If we arrive to the border, then we need to switch to the whatever setup we have.
So that's also I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna help also. I will have the plan of how we're gonna switch. Petrol stations will change seats, but on the last petrol station or last stop before the border, we will go all back to the original cars. So it will make the things easier on the border.
How many kilometers is the entire trip from here to there?
1,000.
It's nearly 2,000.
Remember, when to Ukraine, you have driven like 1,200 something, and you feel like, okay, now I'm in Ukraine, now it's almost done, and then it's 700 kilometers more.
After just a few precious hours of sleep, our team assembled in the pre-dawn darkness to prepare for departure.
Everyone, let's do the morning brief. Come here! First stop is 2 hours, I think, so 20 minutes approximately. And then will be the longest one. From Estonian-Latvian border into Lithuania, depending on traffic, it's 3.5 or 4 hours. And we really want to start early because we don't want to get stuck in Riga traffic. I will be the first car in the convoy. And in Ikla, in the first stop, Roland will join, which is basically our mechanic. And he will be always last car. First stop is already in.
We set out of Tallinn just before dawn. I'd be on my second convoy, while Keith, Annalisa, and a few others would be on their first. Do I really know what to expect? Is it going to be similar to my first convoy? Did I make promises to my family or to Keith or anyone that I might not be able to keep? All I know is that I trust in my convoy partners. We're all in this together, and we're driving forward into the night with a common purpose and a common goal. We'll be in Kyiv in 36 hours.
We have just set off from Lift 99 in Tallinn. We're driving through downtown to the south of Estonia, near the border with Latvia. And I think the goal from Ragnar was to avoid traffic around Riga, even though we're trying to circumvent it to get there before rush hour. And then we blast through Latvia down into Lithuania.
So, 24 hours from now, we'll be across the Polish border, probably?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We should be well into Ukraine, I think.
Okay.
But at that point.
in my mind, this is also equivalent to 1930s with Czechoslovakia and the Nazis, that, appeasement does not work with dictators. And it's exact same situation. Having been to the Baltics before, that's why it's so close to them. I mean, they were only 130 miles from the Russian border, so they've lived under that rule before and are very aware of what could come next.
You did not know how much family you had in Ukraine. You had no idea how much family you had in Ukraine before all this started,
No,
right?
I didn't even know they existed.
You didn't even know they existed, okay.
No.
So not that you didn't know you had as much family, you didn't know you had any.
Correct. When the full-scale invasion happened, that hit me actually quite hard, I guess because I did have the Ukrainian roots with my grandfather.
You knew that?
Yeah, I knew my grandfather was Ukrainian.
You just didn't know you had people, still had people there.
Correct. So seeing that was pretty shocking. And then Ragnar was doing a tech startup convoy, and I was like, well, that's cool because I work in tech.
Right. Yeah.
So I added him on LinkedIn and messaged him going like, I see this convoy, I want to come do it. And then he said, right, well, we'll set up a fundraiser and you can fundraise and get a truck. So I did, and by this point I'd located my family.
Right.
So I went and visited the family and seeing my great cousin and his wife and then their little daughter, but her growing up in a war zone. So I did another campaign and then another one and another one. And it turned out that I was quite good at actually doing them, it seems, because I've subsequently been able to raise 160,000 euros now.
Really?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah. Is that Twitter or Instagram or what is that?
Yeah, Twitter mostly. Twitter, a bit of Instagram. Let's take a look at what makes a truck the NAFO 2.0. Everything that we do, we always buy a high quality pickup truck. Something like a Toyota Hilux, L200, Ford Ranger. They've got night vision cameras, and we'll have a look at how this works in a minute, but it's entirely removable, and I can put that wherever I want on the truck, easily taking it on and off and drive at night time. We've brought over 350 of them now, thanks to your donations, so please keep helping us so we can make that 3,500.
So this is our first fuel stop if you need to, but we're gonna grab some food, anything, need to stretch. It also just kind of keeps a good pace because driving for 30 hours straight is just not gonna work. Taking 2-hour intervals, I think, is the best way to go at this point.
Look how nice the Circle K is, though. This is not your regular American Circle K. The sandwich choices here, all fresh and fronted. This is fully stocked, ready to go. It's not lacking for anything except for bathrooms. The bathrooms are not working in this place. I can't wait to get to Kyiv and turn these trucks over to the soldiers tomorrow and meet some of these guys. Absolutely. It's really sobering to think that, these guys are coming to receive these trucks, but then they're turning around and going back to fight for that. In America, we have no concept of that. No one has to go fight for the safety of their home day in and day out. Right. It's sobering, and yet they do it, and they're gonna come, give us some of their time, take the tools that we're offering them, take the med kits, go back and continue their work and try and keep themselves and their friends alive.
Wars are young men fighting old men's battles. And, nothing has changed in all this time.
When you're fighting on your own home turf, I think the motivation is just so much more than being ordered to go to combat. There's nowhere the Ukrainians can run to. They are home.
Yeah.
It was very hard to understand what we're actually doing, but then seeing soldiers using it, it was a no-brainer that we have to do it again. So I can't even imagine how it's going to be this time to actually meet the people who are going to use the products that you've sent.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens. This year we want to send 400, so maybe after seeing this, next year we'll send 4,000.
What's happening right now, bro?
We're dealing with a bunch of people who don't have military training, and if you have driven in a military convoy, everybody has their car order, which you don't break. And here it's civilians, so you cannot. They cannot have this kind of training, so it's a clusterfuck. Nobody knows where anybody is. The roads are filled without trucks. Everybody's trying to get in order.
Very unhappy women in the Ukrainian toilet line.
That's going to be a good piece.
Oh my goodness, this semi is gonna try us here. Watch out in case he changes his mind again.
I know, here's the most dangerous part of the whole trip.
Yeah, for real. I suppose everyone saw that one of the trucks took the exit. Should we continue on or wait up? Over.
F. Heck. Not good.
When our truck broke down on the last convoy I was on, Roland fixed it on the side of the road too.
15.
You know, with the help of that Ukrainian guy that showed up. So he's like our master mechanic for the team. So here in the freezing night, he's probably going to patch this thing back up and get it rolling again. But, you know, we stop together, we take off again together.
It's actually not so bad as I was thinking. That's the cool thing. Yeah. We just lose fault, but the fact is that it's still too much to fix today.
No, that's the other half. His is shorter than that. No, I don't have another.
McDonald's so confusing in Polska. Look, I don't know what number this is. There's a bunch of numbers.
How do you do this? Like, how does this not wreck your back? This like.
I think the problem is actually after 8 convoys and having done it all year, a lot of people keep saying, "Oh, I thought you were much older than you look, actually." So, or much older than you actually are. So clearly, it is having a bit of an impact.
I don't think it has to do that much with the age, because I also feel terrible. So
how is the trip for you? Like in terms of like it's your first one, and it contributed to mattresses.
Yeah.
So cool, right?
I mean, we're only like halfway there, and then there's like the whole part of being in Ukraine. But so far, it's been like really incredible. And obviously, like I'm tired and maybe a bit uncomfortable, but it's so exciting to be here. So I only have like good things to say until now.
Like 2 hours from breakfast. Is that
2 or 3 hours?
Yeah.
Peter.
Yeah. Peter.
Yeah, Stan. Keith.
Keith, how are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. We haven't met before.
Yeah, right. So, how you doing? You having fun?
Yeah, this is
it's quite an adventure.
Yeah, it really has been an adventure.
The fun thing is hanging out with all these guys, right? It's like there's like this energy, this patriotism. You know, it's like it's inspiration.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's the kind of thing that's missing from daily life, you know, and it feels good when you get it. So yeah, absolutely.
How are you feeling?
Tired. I just drove 2 shifts. Now I have to rest and sleep.
No, you
it's
need
gonna
to
be
drive see more. What do you mean tired to fucking hell? You're a week or what? I was driving I had just one restaurant so far. So.
You drive alone,
Yes.
so no one stops you and helps you. This is my first time driving. I'm driving the whole way to Kyiv. So we're at,
think
I'm
trips
doing the
went
math
by
in
very
my head.
quickly.
It just takes me a minute to catch
Really,
up.
I mean, just kind of been a flash.
Holy shit.
Talking, good talking to people, and you know, good conversation, and the next thing you know, you're there.
And which countries have we traversed?
We have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and now we're in Poland.
I just want to make a statement to people like my congressman who don't necessarily see that that this war matters to Americans, but it does.
Right.
This is our war, and we have this incredible opportunity as Americans to support Ukraine in this effort, and by doing that, really, I think potentially head off
other
conflicts where American soldiers will be involved.
Yeah.
Normaldagarna.
Let's go here. Other side.
Yeah.
On the way. I will be the first car. You know, whoever is the second. You need to give the police border your original personal passport and car original passport.
All the papers that you have, put them in the plastic with and that's super important. That's gonna be in the top. And I need your passports also.
Yeah, they freak when you film security stuff.
I suppose to make sure you're not trying to smuggle something in the engine compartment.
Someone in the production vehicle check in and let me know that we've got everyone behind us after you've pulled out, okay? And let me know that the convoy is complete. Yeah, I see 4 vehicles, but 2 of them just like go straight ahead. So I guess we are all set. Copy that?
As we finally entered Ukraine, I couldn't help but flash back to my first time crossing this border. I can say that all my experience since still has done nothing to calm my nerves. My adrenaline is high, and I'm as nervous, excited, and as impatient as I was on that first trip.
Just past Lviv, heading towards Kyiv. We've made 2 stops inside Ukraine so far, both at gas stations. And we are heading for breakfast.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright. Shit. I'm okay. Fuck, I fucked up the truck though.
There's another one of those minefield signs right there.
Look, we should like
So you
snap
see,
a picture of
you
one
see
of those.
these fields where the sunflower seeds are, or the heads are hanging down.
Yeah.
You see the white ribbons everywhere.
Yeah.
So that hasn't been harvested yet. Like the fields are fallow because there's mines out there, and the white ribbons indicate that. Like, oh shit. Dude, cue back up. And I was saying, so the white ribbons,
dude, nice save.
indicate like a safe path through the minefield. Me skidding all over the road indicates a safe path to a successful stop. Let's not do that again.
How crazy would that have been if that's how our lives ended? We're looking at a minefield that we...
And you run into it?
Yeah, we just slide into it and blow
Oh
up.
my God. Blow up.
Talk about a headline.
Yeah.
Alright, what's our status?
We are 1 minute from looping back to go to this local restaurant where they laid out a breakfast spread for us. We blew up one truck on the way here, so we got our requisite 10% out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. We have the accident for this trip. It's all and done. Yeah. Oh wait, you did. How was your drive?
It was really good. I also had a chance to sleep a little bit, so it feels so much better. So I'm able to drive again now.
We made our last pit stop and prepared for that final push into Kyiv. It was obvious that fatigue had taken its toll on everyone. We were all looking forward to a rest and a hot meal.
So, one of the reasons I came to Ukraine, in 2002, I was a student at a community college, and they brought in a speaker who was a survivor not Auschwitz, sorry, the Holocaust. He was a Holocaust survivor. And he told all of these, of course, horrible stories about his times there. And then at the end, he took questions. And this was right after 9/11, and we had, just gone to war. So someone asked him how he felt about that. And he said, and this always chokes me up, he said,
When Hitler invaded Austria, what if someone had tried to stop it? Maybe he wouldn't have killed 6 million Jews.
Right.
We arrived in Borodyanka as a light snow flurry began to fall and met with some troops who were back from the front on leave.
Ви є нашим тилом. Ми є на стрії цих всіх атак і всієї війни, але без вашої підтримки не могли б стримувати ворога.
So you are our backup. We are on the front lines, but without your support and help, we won't be able to fight.
Bombed out apartment buildings bore witness to the Russian offensive, which had passed through this town in the early days of the full-scale war.
No, what I see up there are people's lives. I mean, that's somebody's life, that's somebody's bed, that's somebody's couch, that's everything somebody had at some point, not that long ago. There's a refrigerator there. I mean, it's like that was somebody living right there. And this is a tiny tip of the iceberg, the smallest thing to them. But it's unlike anything, you know, we Americans, Westerners, ever see in real time. We see it 50 years later as a historical fucking landmark, but not the school your kids used to go to.
This is our destination. This is in the center of Kyiv, and we're actually dropping the trucks off here at this warehouse where they're going to wash them. So we don't hand over the dirty truck because they're completely covered with road grime and salt and stuff like that. We're going to give them a beautiful detailed job, empty out all of our stuff, and get them ready for the handover tomorrow to the troops, which we're doing at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Roland, how many trips we have done now with you? 13. We don't have a chance of being tired. How we can be tired if these people in the front line have to accept reality day by day? But the point is that, guys, like, you know, like, this thing which is going on is always like, goes back to the point how lucky we are. I am sitting with you and I know what is the price of that. Because we can feel how much it saves lives. So I think that this is a great moment, exactly Thanksgiving. And I am deeply thankful for all of you that you keep going back. So, we have a bird.
We always have dinner together to celebrate the safe arrival in Kyiv. And with this one landing on our Thanksgiving holiday, us Americans on the trip wanted to share one of our traditions of unity.
This is my second convoy, so I first joined them in February of 2023. I'd found out from a friend that he was going to be going on an aid convoy to Ukraine. I didn't know anything about what that would entail. Myself and my friend Stan Miller were the only Americans and the first Americans to ever join on one of the 69th Sniffing Brigade's convoys. Now this time there may be 6 or 7 of us. I didn't ask any of those guys to come, except for one, my friend Keith Ory, who came with me to help be on the documentary that we're filming.
For the soldiers, they're living in their bubble, and at some point they just start to feel like they're alone. As soon as they're receiving these trucks exactly here, meeting the exact people who donated and who brought them, and this energy is going spreading, and it's actually energizing them because they get inspired that they're not alone. They see people, and I think that's the crucial for soldiers to come here and receiving it in front.
First off, really want to appreciate what you guys do every day to defend all of us. Us and many people behind us have been working to bring supplies to you guys. We will not stop. We will not forget until there is peace for Ukraine.
It's going to be much cheaper to make Ukraine win now than to let Russia gain more territories or fight for longer. The more we wait, the more expensive it's going to be in terms of lives, but also financially. The only way to counter threats to the West and to the liberal world is to stop them now, because otherwise there's going to be way more coming. If we let Russia take Ukraine just because of their imperialist visions, then China and other countries will see this as an opportunity and will think, okay, they can do it, we can do it as well. So we need to stop it here. There's no other option.
It's important for Americans to understand any loss of freedom in any country means an expansion of the authoritarianism. And the more that expands, the more it threatens the countries that have freedom. These guys that we're talking to, their parents have been in that oppressive environment. Some of the older soldiers have been in that oppressive environment. I teach college. I had 20 students from good New Jersey public high schools. None of them knew what the Bill of Rights was. We don't teach civics in the schools anymore. If you're not going to have a basic understanding of the stanchions of ideology of your country, well, how are you going to sympathize with a country that's trying to fight for their freedom?
Hello my friends, we're right now here in Kyiv in the Love Monastery, and these guys you see right next to me, 4 guys, they are Estonians like me. 5 Estonians right here in Kyiv. You see the blue, black and white, so every Estonian knows what it means to be under the Soviet occupation, and these guys know it the most because they have actually physically gone into this country and they're fighting on the front line against Russians right now.
To come here, to do the ride, meeting all these people, all these volunteers from all over the world, they can see donations are not going missing anywhere. It's going straight into the cars.
It's just crazy how the people have changed their entire life chapter to go from like their regular careers, their civilian careers as obstetricians or dentists or PE teachers, and just all of a sudden become volunteer military guys. Like those guys that took the medevac truck away look like professional soldiers. Before February 22, they were just civilians, regular civilians who just rose to answer the call to defend their country and save their countrymen's and women's lives.
I came in the summer because from the very beginning, I really believed that this war was important and needed to be supported. I tried for the first year to connect with people on LinkedIn and social medias and things like that and have conversations, and obviously it's very hard to do that from far away. And so I realized I just needed to show up. And so I started talking to nonprofits. I started doing things like going to English meetup groups, just to meet people, right, just to connect. And I met Johnny at an English speaking group. He's the one who eventually connected me with the 69th Sniffing Brigade, and I volunteered for this convoy.
How important is the convoy and the supplies they bring to you guys? I mean, you have military supply chains, I imagine, but this is another layer. What is this to you? How much does this help?
This helps immensely, and I can tell that sadly our army and government doesn't provide even like half of what's needed, or maybe half at best. Yeah. And a larger portion of what is needed for the soldiers and for the medics is provided by volunteers. It's basically crowdsourced, right? Yeah. And literally saves hundreds of lives.
Do you do the fundraising, or do you just support other fundraisers?
I do the fundraising. Okay. I think there are 2 sides to this. One of the reasons is that we are not funded well enough. We just lack stuff. Okay. That's one of the reasons. And another reason is that medical supplies, they get used up so quickly. They literally disappear. disappear as you're looking at them constant. Yeah. Besides, medical units and evac vehicles and ambulances are one of the major targets for Russians. They specifically target ambulances, hospitals, stabilization points, and just when they hit it, everything gets destroyed. Whatever supplies there were gone. Yeah, burned to the ground. Everything they had was lost, and they started asking for help. And I packed a van of supplies and I rushed to help. This is how we met, and I'm supporting that brigade ever since.
So how did you connect with Ragnar? How did he know that you needed this vehicle?
So I see a lot of Ragnar activities on Twitter, where I do most of my fundraisings. Right. And on Twitter, I also post a lot of stuff about the reality on Ukrainian front lines. Absolutely. And I made a tweet that what our soldiers have to do when they don't have enough vehicles to evacuate our killed in action. They literally put a dead body on the hood of the car and have to drive like this because the car was full. And I posted this photo on Twitter of medics driving an evac vehicle with a dead body tied to the hood. And Ragnar saw this photo on Twitter, and he texted me and offered an evac vehicle for my medics. That was so amazing.
That's insane. That cheers me up. It makes it even more powerful for me that I got to be a part of that. To deliver that here.
I really appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
It's been like super emotional, and like especially today, with my own eyes, it was a very like shocking thing to see. So that was like from the negative part, but like in terms of like Ukraine, and the first time I visited it, it was like one of my favorite cities, Kyiv, because it was just so lively. I don't know, like a sense of optimism within people, and like so many cafes and like just a lot of life. That was what I always like remembered about Kyiv.
After handing off the trucks to the soldiers, there is a huge sense of relief and accomplishment. And while I knew after my first handoff that I'd return for another, this time it became clear that the work actually begins the moment we give the soldiers their keys. And that's just how it will be as long as this unjust war rages on. Soon, the adrenaline rush and joy of the handoff would be replaced by the sobering atrocities of war, which we saw firsthand in Bucha.
It was a long process of exhumation of bodies from mass graves. There were 2 mass graves in the city, and also there were a number of just sort of, what would you say, casual burials when someone found someone and they just buried them in their yard. It was very difficult, both psychologically and just physically to endure. These are photos of the exhumation. You can see on this picture, like this is the place where the memorial is now standing. And you can see in this photograph, for example, the body that's in a bag was taken from the morgue, and some that were just found on the street as they were buried as they were. Generally, the only reason people were killed because they were alive and moving. A friend of mine went out onto the balcony with his flashlight looking for, potatoes, and because he was moving around with a flashlight at night, they shot him. Someone else was just shot on the street. There was no rhyme or reason to.
This is what we're fighting. And that's why we say this is not just Ukraine's war. I mean, this is man's inhumanity to man.
You come here, you look at these photos of civilians being shot while holding like a pack of pasta. And these photos need to be seen because the level of like crimes and cruelness shows you that like this kind of evil is tolerated in Russia. And that's sort of like the reason of everything that they do. They tolerate evil.
Chilling photographs and a memorial on the site of a mass grave reminded us of the terrible price the citizens here paid for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
So it's true that both Russians and Ukrainians are Christians as their faith, but the Russian Orthodox Church and the Moscow Patriarchate is specific, and they believe that everybody who's not part of their particular Russian Orthodox Church is not the same kind of human as us.
Why did the Russians do this here, though? Like, what was specifically? I mean, to create terror, to eliminate male population that could potentially be soldiers. What was the reason they did this here?
So nobody knows. There's no clear reason why they did this. They did a lot of really incomprehensible things. They killed and shot dogs. They shot trees. And so this monument, you can read the name of every single person who was killed including a family that was shot while trying to evacuate the city. And so Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, often kind of claimed that the Ukrainians were making this up, that they didn't have any names, and the head of the city of Bucha actually invited him to come here personally to read the names of the people that the Russians murdered. And the oldest person killed was almost 100 years old, and the youngest was only a couple of months old. Let's take a minute of silence to honor the victims.
What I felt there filled me with a resolve to stand with the Ukrainians until they have peace once again in their land.
Those motherfucking Russians. You have to wake up in the middle of the night because explosions are happening all over you. That's how they're bombing Kyiv.
7:30 a.m. Ukraine, Kyiv. Woke up to go to the gym. First thing I heard is air raid sirens, explosions on the horizon in the distance.
Night has been a very, very long air raid. So it started around 2:30. All the alarms went off. You sometimes can hear the explosions in the distance, but tonight it has been like extremely long. Like still right now the air raid isn't over actually. Yeah. And like occasionally you can hear explosions coming through the. You can hear it through the glass, you know.
Yeah, so we had to leave early because some Russian bombers were in the sky. I don't know where, maybe at the Caspian Sea or Belarus or something. And when they go up and they have cruise missiles with them, then there's an air raid alarm just in case. Sometimes they don't send anything, but sometimes they do.
Is this your first air raid siren? I know it's mine.
We had air raid sirens in February. So it freaked me out, right? So I looked over and see this Ukrainian, we were handing out the keys, right? I looked over and see this Ukrainian soldier, and he was looking at me, and he saw how freaked out I was, and he goes, like, give me that, no big deal, sign, you know.
A little like, let me just alleviate your fear for you.
Right.
Kinda.
It's like, we get this all the time.
Matthew, brother.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Oh, good morning.
Morning. How are you? Headed back to the front, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, going back to Zaporizhia here, or in the next hour.
About 8 hours, 7 hours?
About 8 or 9 hours, depending on how many times we stop.
Yeah.
You're seeing this firsthand. How much of a difference are we actually making? Overall, it's huge, especially for morale. The Ukrainian people that I've interacted with, and it's been hundreds, civilian, military, government, you know, they see America as this far-off, distant land, that things are mostly perfect. You know, they understand that we have our own problems. Yeah. But the American culture is just so big over here with our music, with our movies, our TV shows, that there's a lot of Ukrainians I met that they learned English just from watching our movies. Like, they never took any English classes. They just love our movies, our TV show, everything about the American culture. They love our vehicles, all that stuff. So when they see that America is so far away, but doing so much to help here, then they know that America is the one that's spending the most amount of money compared to all the other countries to provide the freedoms here with the weapons and support and air defense, and that there's Americans physically here helping out along with other foreigners from other NATO countries and non-NATO countries. You know, for them it's huge. And it's one of the reasons that some of them have not left Ukraine, whereas a lot of Ukrainians, fled Ukraine because of the war. So the ones that here, one of the reasons is because they see that places like America are really helping out. So going back to how much help are we actually providing? For real, on the ground, what happens if America's support slows down, takes a slower time to get here, or stops completely? Short answer, more dead Ukrainians. And not just dead Ukrainians, but dead foreigners that are here trying to help out. And I don't even mean just people doing combat stuff. I got friends and connections here that they're just trying to do like medical stuff, or they're trying to do like interviews, and they're near the front lines, and a missile destroys their vehicle and kills them. So it's just going to be more dead people in the country of Ukraine.
Well, make sure you get there, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, for real.
So Keith is from Florida.
Yeah.
And I'm from New Jersey. So we have X's on our windows when we have hurricanes and big storms. That's not for a storm.
It's better to be for a storm, I think, yeah. It's for not windows to break, yeah. For some rockets came here near, so for...
And that's not the only place we've seen that.
Right.
It's all over.
Come on, guys, do you remember what was going like 24th of February? That was really close, so the war was here.
2 nights ago it was here.
Now, when he's at the front, what's that like for you?
It's not easy for me.
When we dropped off the vehicles the other day in the square, you weren't wearing a ring, if I remember.
Yeah.
But you have one on now. What's that about?
I think something changed yesterday.
What changed yesterday?
I think I also have a ring on here.
Yeah. You got married yesterday.
Yeah,
yesterday you got married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
After saying goodbye to Keith and Mark, Favorsky would drop off his new fiancée at the production company where they both work before returning to the front. It's difficult for me to fathom how the younger generation has been forced to fight for their futures in such a manner.
So if you go inside to here to us, so even if you speak Russian language, you must to pay. And we take this money and give for soldier. That's just our rule in our team, our friends.
Hello, I'm Peter.
Nice to meet you. Thank you that you come.
Yes, you're Sasha, yes?
Yes, my name is Sasha.
Okay.
I'm a coach.
Got it.
Judo coach.
Your friends here?
Yes, it's sportsman Nastya.
Nastya.
From national Ukrainian team, and Denis.
Denis, I'm Peter.
Yes, nice to meet you.
You too.
Welcome to Ukraine.
Thank you. This is the stadium here?
Yes.
Or what's left of it?
This is a place where we're training, where our many children have good time. They was in sport and live with sport.
Mm-hmm.
Around 200 children, judokas, training in this place.
It's amazing how people can put these things in perspective. Like you wake up and there's been a rocket attack.
Yes.
It's like checking the weather. You're like, where did the rockets fall last night?
Yes.
It's very, very weird to think this is normal. When you walked back in this place for the first time and saw what had happened to your dojo, like, do you remember how you felt?
When I come to this dojo, it was not like this now, because we little bit clean it, but it was like photos from my children. Every my happy birthday, they every time give me surprise photos. So it was many photos. I start to take these photos. I see that blood in my hands because it was all like, yes.
Glass everywhere.
My husband start to take me out, but I say, no, I must to take these photos and a little bit things, and I start to cry. I maybe cry 2-3 hours, because, you know, when I live in a house, it's one, but when you work every time in this dojo with children, it's like a little bit another energy.
Yes.
So of course it was hard for me. But it's okay. Now I understand that it is, and children, when children to know about it, they all start to write me, you know, children, 10 years old, and they just start to write me what's about dojo, how it is, and of course it's pain, but I every time saying that it's good that we're now alive. This is now our, how I say you at the start, that our first point is stay alive. So I don't know what will be tomorrow, but today we are alive, so forget about it all. We will build new, but our point now to stay alive.
Yes. One of my last stops was in a small town just outside of Kyiv, where I met with a brave and inspiring young couple who, like many other young Ukrainians, had put their lives on hold to help displaced victims of the war. In their case, we ran an animal shelter to help animals whose owners were no longer around to take care of them.
Hello. Hi.
Добрий день.
Hello. I'm Peter.
Arthur.
Nice to meet you.
Дуже приємно. Дуже приємно. І у кожної тварини своя історія, наскільки я розумію.
Так, у нас у кожної тварини своя історія, кожна тварина до нас приїжджала або травмована, або приїжджала з фронтових областей. Дуже рідко нам підкидають собачок, звісно, притулок. Ну, без цього ніяк, але у всіх доволі важка історія.
So when we were driving here, I noticed, there's a lot of damage from combat not too far away. Did you guys evacuate? Did you leave Irpin?
How or?
Did you?
Yeah, of course.
And then what of the dogs when you left?
We evacuated them all.
You took all the dogs with you?
Yeah, of course. But that time we had about 20 dogs. Not all of them.
20 dogs?
20 dogs, yeah.
How did you manage this? Just put them on the roof of the car, put them on your arms?
We had no choice. That's all.
Well, you had a choice, but you put the dogs like on equal footing with family, and you took them with you.
It's hard to say now.
Wow.
Just so no choice.
That speaks to your dedication to them, so it's awesome.
Kind of.
Before I headed back to the States, I decided to meet up with fellow American Stephen Moore. A former Capitol Hill staffer, he came to Kyiv in the weeks following the Russian invasion in 2022 and set up his own NGO, Ukraine Freedom Project. We catch up with him in his warehouse outside of Kyiv, where they're preparing supplies for the front line near Kharkiv.
Where's that headed, Stephen?
This is going to Kharkiv.
It's a lot of boxes of food and supplies there.
Yeah, so there's 3,500 emergency workers in Kharkiv right now that every day they are on call to go into burning buildings and drag people out of burning buildings because Putin is targeting apartment buildings, he's targeting schools, he's targeting hospitals. So these folks, these really brave Ukrainians, are going into these places, pulling people out, but they're not well paid. It's like, it's actually hard for them to get food. So we're feeding the emergency workers who are dragging people out of buildings.
Having been involved with a Republican congressman and seeing the workings of Capitol Hill up close and personal, does it surprise you now that there's friction and what seems to be friction in getting aid for Ukraine from the Republican side?
Yeah, everything surprises me and nothing surprises me. Just the amount of inaccurate information that's getting out to Americans about Ukraine is just startling. I'm here, I see things going on, I talk to the people, I've been to the front a dozen times myself, I go back to the United States and I start watching the news and I'm like, it bears no resemblance to what I'm seeing. So, part of what I'm trying to do is get good, firsthand, data-driven, factual information to policymakers in DC and more broadly to Americans, because this is a story that should resonate with Republicans. Because it's a story of people fighting for their freedom. It's a story of throwing off the yoke of oppression.
Yes.
It's a story of Russians coming in and torturing and murdering people like them.
Absolutely.
Or just I'm going to.
How are you? Good. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you again.
sort of movie premiere?
We are right now at the oldest cinema in Kyiv called Jovtin, which is translated as October. We are in one of the hall for premiere of my short movie that I made this summer in Ukraine. My roots is from Ukraine, and they were occupied once. And I just I was searching for how can I help this country and my relatives over there to not being second time occupied. So that's how I started this Help at 99. Oh, really? It's actually really cool to have all the drivers tonight because basically it's intersected everywhere here. I have already here my relatives, I have my girlfriend, I have the drivers, I have friends that I met in Kyiv, and it's like inside of this all movements, and it feels like, you know, almost like a sun, you know, sun is the center of the universe, and you just like, you know, at some point you just like, we have like 30 minutes to do it, and I have this, say, 30 minutes of being in the center, and it's just amazing.
As we made our way through the station to our various trains home, I couldn't help but ask myself, what does home really mean?
This is number 10 for the sum of the crew, and 11 is you, and you're number 10.
They say that home isn't just a place, it's a sense of belonging. But after these journeys, I realized that home can also be what we fight for, what we sacrifice for. For the Ukrainians and their neighbors, home is their land, their people, their culture, and their freedom to be who they are and have always been. And for the foreign volunteers we met, home has become something far greater. It's a shared humanity, a belief in the future and the truth of it being a universal right. 2 convoy missions have taught me one undeniable truth. The fight for freedom anywhere is the fight for freedom everywhere. The efforts of all these volunteers and soldiers, the trucks loaded with supplies, the generosity of people around the world, it's a reminder that we are stronger together, that in unity we can move mountains, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
Ragnar, it's been fantastic to meet you. We'll meet again.
Absolutely. We have to meet. We have to.
Absolutely. I want to do this again soon.
See you next time.